and have some fun online, at least something to do as well. Before we start the face-to-face kind of stuff. All right. So that everyone is on the same track and so on. Okay. Because this is the very basic course in aquaculture, right? And since all of you are aquaculture students, you should do better than the rest. You see, we have 3 or 4 classes, AKU3201, you know. One is your group. The other 3, I think, is Bachelor Science, Pertanian, BSP. Yeah. So I expect you guys to do better lah, because you're aquaculture student, kan? All right. So anyway, I'd like to continue with the slides that I presented earlier. And then, now, by the way, do you guys have, what do you call this? Your calculator, pen and paper with you, ada tak? Ada calculator ke? Or you can use something to calculate, maybe your handphone. Boleh ya? Boleh tak?
Boleh je lah.
Boleh je lah.
Because we're going to do a bit of calculation later. Kita akan buat sedikit pengiraan. Okay. Now, this is something that kadang-kadang students say, alamak, Cik Lah punya kelas always got calculation one lah. Ayah, I want to memorize things. I don't like to calculate. Hey, but you know, aquaculture, when you do aquaculture production, you need to do some calculation tau. Okay. You need to understand how to grow fish. You need to understand how much they eat. What is the feed conversion ratio. Kena kira kan? Tahu tak? I want to know the efficiency of production. Am I making money or not? Am I losing money from my fish culture? All right. And then how much feed do I need to give? All this, you know. How much cost of this and that, you know, cost of fish fry. So all this comes into play. Sebab tu kita kena buat calculation. So I go through some basic things on the principles of aquaculture production, and then we will go through some basic calculation. Boleh ya? Okay, now this one, of course, calculation you cannot memorize. You see, you have to do it. You have to understand it so that next time when the soalan or question like this comes out in your first test, ujian yang pertama, ujian minggu 5, then you are prepared. All right? Okay. So let's get to it, okay? Hold on. Can you see this, guys?
Yes, lah.
Boleh ya? Good. So we finished. We stopped here during the last lecture. All right. I think I better go through very quickly. All right, on some of the key things here. On the roles of aquaculture. All right. Now, sometimes people ask you, hey, why you do aquaculture? Kenapa you involved in aquaculture? Kenapa nak buat aquaculture? Alright, so maybe your answer will be, I have no choice lah, because my other subject which I want to apply cannot get. So I go into aquaculture lah. Ada tak macam tu? Mungkin ada kan? Alright. Because of you cannot get other course, and then they say, you cannot get into this, you go aquaculture lah. So you have no choice but to take, right? But I want to tell you, since all of you are already in aquaculture, And I'm sure you guys have some interest in aquaculture kan? Ada minat kan? Kalau tak minat, I'm sure you drop the course or you just do something else lah. But since you guys are in the class and for already like second or third semester, you know, and then you have gone through some aquaculture subjects, you know, I'm sure there is some interest in it, you know, if not a lot, but interest in actually, you know, knowing or finding out what is the role of aquaculture, apa peranan aquaculture dalam konteks negara kita umpamanya, in our country, right? Okay, so we've gone through the numbers, aquaculture for this, for that semua kan. And number one is obviously to reduce the gap between supply versus demand of food fish. You know, this is in relation to food security. Yeah? Food security ataupun in bahasa Malaysia, what do you call it? Food security apa? Any idea? What is it called in bahasa Malaysia? Anyone? What does it mean? Apa maksud? Okay, kata susah nak cakap bahasa Malaysia, what do you understand by national food security? What do you understand by this term? Food security. Anyone? You want to share with me? Siapa-siapa yang boleh beritahu saya, apa you faham tentang food security? Come on, anyone will do.
I think that food security is a terms where bila mana kita nak cakap yang makanan tu selamat untuk dimakan lah. Kira kalau tak ada food security ni, kita akan mudah terkena food poisoning, akan susah untuk mendapatkan makanan. Jadi food security ada supaya makanan yang kita dapat adalah selamat dan bersih.
Okay. Alright, so food security when you refer to it is meaning that you have enough food, yeah, at any time you want to eat. Let's say you have fish, nak makan ikan ada. Okay, alright. The other aspect of it is what you say is keselamatan atau food safety. So there are two issues here. One is food security, all right. One is food safety. Food safety. Safety itu it means that selamat untuk dimakan, all right. When you say about security, it means that you have enough. Kita mempunyai bekalan yang cukup untuk memenuhi keperluan masyarakat di Malaysia. You have enough supply, all right, of food to ensure that all Malaysians can eat, essentially, enough food to eat, all right. So that is why the term security comes in, all right. Okay, and then number two is lessen pressure on capture fisheries. Okay, mengurangkan tekanan kepada perikanan tangkapan. Why? Because the capture fishery is already coming down. I actually showed you a graph earlier showing that the number or we call it the fishery landings. Fishery landings, pendaratan ikan tangkapan. The capture fishery landing is getting less and less. Why? Because of the over-exploitation of our capture fisheries. Jadi sekarang ni, now the production of capture fishery is coming down. And therefore, if we cannot catch fish like before, how do we supplement the loss in capture fishery? How do we support that? Is through aquaculture. All right. So much so that if you go to the shop now, if you go to the wet market, you all pergi pasar basah kan? You go to the wet market, you'll find that quite a lot of fish that you buy there are cultured fish. For example, okay, the tilapia in the wet market, all are cultured. Catfish, obviously, all cultured. What about ikan siakap or sea bass? Sea bass are also cultured. Jenaha, also cultured, a lot of them. Ikan merah, a lot of them come from cages, all right. Ikan bawal mas, okay, all cultured. You go and buy bawal mas, but bawal putih, bawal hitam, all are still caught from the sea. Okay, and what about udang? Udang putih, white shrimp, udang harimau, tiger shrimp, udang galah, right? Macrobrachium, freshwater prawns, all are aquaculture species. Kerang, all right? Your kerang, your cockles that you use to make char kway teow, kerang, all are aquaculture. All right? So kerang comes under aquaculture, okay? Because we have control over the culture, not under capture fishery. So because capture fishery is coming down, we need to supplement it or buffer it with aquaculture. The other one is generate foreign income, because when we produce our aquaculture product, some of them we export, right? We export to other countries and earn foreign exchange, earn money. What about employment and career development? You know, it's a good industry. Aquaculture is what we call as a sunrise industry. Sunrise, maksudnya industri matahari terbit. Maksudnya ada peluang yang banyak. Sunrise, coming up. It's bright. It's a sunrise industry, okay? Compared to industry which is called, apa? What is the opposite of sunrise?
Sunset.
Sunset, of course. So a sunrise industry is an industry which is going up and rising and giving opportunity to a lot of people. A sunset industry is coming down, you know, and very soon it will be obsolete. All right, there is a sunset industry. Okay, so diversify alternative income to fishermen and farmers. That means if fishermen cannot go out to the sea, kalau kita punya nelayan tak boleh keluar ke laut musim tengkujuh, umpamanya di Terengganu, di Kelantan, kalau tak boleh keluar musim tengkujuh, mungkin pilihan lain adalah dengan menternak ikan. If our farmers cannot go out to the sea during the monsoon season, the other alternative could be for them to grow fish. It is called alternative income. And diversify, meaning that even if you have opportunity to become fishermen, you can still go on and do fish farming. Fishermen go out to the sea to capture fish. Farmers grow fish. They are two different things, okay? Fishermen go out to the sea, capture fish. Farmers, they grow fish. But fishermen can also be farmers. They can do two things. During good time, they go out to the sea. During bad weather, they can become farmers as well. All right? Provide business and investment opportunity. Well, of course, aquaculture, when you say this is sunrise industry, people can come in and invest. Manusia ataupun syarikat-syarikat atau individu boleh datang dan membuat projek, melabur dalam projek aquaculture. Alright? So that is why you find a lot of people now do businesses as such, grow fish, even small backyard project, okay, or company project or family project, opportunity to do some business and to make some income. Okay, so those are the 6 or so roles of aquaculture. These are some of the initiatives to increase production and value of aquaculture products. Okay, you can increase productivity with technological advancement, promoting production and marketability, promoting good aquaculture practice, post-harvest handling, better quality, safer products, introduction of new species, okay, and hybrid, meaning that kita masukkan spesies yang lebih baru, hybrid yang baru supaya dia cepat besar, tahan lasak, kurang kena penyakit. Okay, those are new species and hybrids. Alright, and diversify products and market segment, meaning that you don't only sell your fresh fish from your harvest from the farm, you sell it maybe frozen fish. Okay, you sell it maybe in the after you have do some marinate, you marinate the fish. Perap, in bahasa Malaysia we call it perap, ikan perap, marinated fish. You harvest the fish, you marinate it with some sauce or with your special what do you call this, spice. All right, and you can sell it. People buy now marinated fish. What they do is that they buy, you deliver, come to their house, they just open the packet and fry it, goreng terus. Tak payah nak siang, tak payah nak cuci. Alright, no need to clean, no need to dress the fish, remove the scales and whatever, ready to eat. Just goreng, that's all. Just fry it and it's ready. So that is your product diversification. Alright, produk tu kita pelbagaikan. Niche marketing, online products. This is quite interesting. Niche marketing. Let me tell you, while I was in Temerloh a couple of weeks back, we met one of your seniors, an ex-student of course of our department. She's your senior. She graduated in 2015, I think, 2015. It was 6 years ago, right? So she graduated in 2015. She got married to her college mate, her classmate, in fact, bukan college mate, classmate. So we did not know that they were a couple in the class, you know. So they were quite together, and then after they graduated, they got married, you know. So now husband and wife with one child. Okay, both were aquaculture graduates. Okay, the husband worked in shrimp hatchery, and then the wife is now helping her father to market ikan patin or the pangasius catfish in Temerloh. So why I'm telling you this story is that this girl, she only has one child at home now. He's helping her father. The father owns about 30 ikan patin cages. Okay, ayah dia mempunyai 30 sangka ikan patin di Temerloh, in Temerloh. So the father is operating that cage culture business, growing patin for the local market. Okay, either they sell wholesale secara pukal or retail, jualan retail. But then when the COVID came in, bila ada masalah dengan COVID ni, okay, what happened was they cannot sell a lot of fish. Tak boleh jual banyak ikan seperti biasa. So what did they do? So this girl is quite smart. What she did was she told her father, "Dad, why do we do online sales?" And initially the father was quite skeptical. Of course, father was quite skeptical, not sure. Old people or senior people, old school people, right? They want to do something new, maybe, yeah, I'm not sure lah, can lah, okay. Does it cost money? No? So this girl was quite entrepreneurial. So she convinced her father to start selling her ikan patin online. So what she did was, at every time they harvest, whatever products they cannot sell for that particular day, they cannot sell live, they will keep it frozen. Okay. First of all, of course, she will, remove the gut. They call it gutted, or what do you call it? Another term is called dress. They will dress the fish, remove the gut, remove the scales, and then clean the fish, and then cut into segments, or cut into portions, and she would put her special perap or special marinade, okay, and then she would freeze the fish, freeze all the fish parts, all right? So then she would just promote her product through Shopee and Lazada, I think. And then you know how much she sells per kilo for her ikan patin online? The ikan patin now in Temerloh is selling about 17 ringgit for live ikan patin. Okay, 17 ringgit per kilogram. Ikan patin sekarang di Temerloh jual dengan harga 17 ringgit sekilo daripada sangka. So you rasa berapa banyak harga yang dia jual online 1 kilo? What do you think, guys? She's selling online per kilo how much? Any idea?
35.
Yep, about that price. And she makes money, man. She makes money. And then she sells quite a lot also, helping her father. All right. That one is without the cost of transport, you know. Just the product. Kalau transport, additional 10 ringgit, 50 ringgit, and people can buy. The thing is that there is a demand for it. Okay, ada permintaan untuk produk macam tu. There's a demand for the sort of product. And so she could sell it. And to make things more interesting, she also sells the, what do you call this? The mixture for making tempoyak, okay? Lauk tempoyak tu, you call it, masakan tempoyak, okay? There is a special kuah or special, what do you call this, gravy they used to make with patin. So she sells that, okay? She sells that kuah lauk tempoyak tu, and also together with the fish, right? And doing quite well now, right? So she just stays at home now, helping her dad and do online niche marketing. The product goes all the way to Johor, goes to Perlis and so on. Okay, so this is just an example to tell you, all of you, that, you know, aquaculture is a good business. It's an opportunity for all of us, but sometimes you need to do some thinking. Okay, you need to diversify your thinking. What are the products that I can do, I can sell, so that I can increase my income from that 1 kilo of fish that you sell, all right? So think about this as well, all right? I'm sure when you are in UPM, in the faculty, you will take some courses in Kushawanan, entrepreneurship, right? In business and so on. I'm sure you have taken or will take such classes. Remember, this what I mentioned to you, at least give you some idea if you want to do your kertas kerja or project paper, you know. Think about what products you can make from aquaculture species, you know, other than just selling live or selling chill or frozen, but maybe the marketing channel will be interesting, niche marketing, where do you sell it to, all right? So these are the things that I just want to share with you, initiatives to increase production and value of aquaculture products through all these initiatives. All right, so one thing that aquaculture is, you want to be aware of also is that a lot of things now, when you talk about aquaculture, you focus on what we call as sustainable aquaculture development. Okay, pembangunan aquakultur mapan. Sometimes we use the word mampan, M-A-M-P-A-N, mampan. Some they use the word mapan, M-A-P-A-N, just mapan. Dua-dua boleh pakai, we can use both, but I think most people will use the word mapan. Pembangunan aquaculture mapan, M-A-P-A-N. Okay, it means sustainable aquaculture development. What does it mean? It means that when you do sustainable aquaculture, you take care of the environment, okay? You take care of your profit, means your business must make some profit, which is called economic sustainability. Your business must be environmentally friendly. You grow fish in cages or in ponds. Okay, you have effluent or your water you want to remove from your pond. Make sure that your water does not pollute the environment. or you can recycle the water. All right. The third component is called social sustainability. Okay, kemapanan sosial. What does it mean? It means that whenever you do a project involving aquaculture, you want to try to employ local people, bagi pekerjaan kepada masyarakat tempatan. Okay, so that is called social sustainability. All right. So when you have all these three components, you have the environmental sustainability, you have the economic sustainability, and of course you have the social sustainability. Altogether, these three components make for sustainable aquaculture. All right. So I hope you understand this, because one of the areas where we will learn later on is on good aquaculture practice, GAQP. All right. So good aquaculture practice is important for people to do in Malaysia, because when you get a GAQP certification, it means that you have taken care of the environment when you do your fish culture. You've taken care of economic sustainability. That means your business is quite profitable. And you have social sustainability, meaning that you employ local people as much as you can. Yes, so that they're happy with you because they live around you and so on. So this is the meaning of sustainable aquaculture. All right. There is a particular term called blue revolution. Now, blue revolution essentially means that you improve the production of fish culture, improving in production productivity, or intensify productivity through the use of chemicals, through the use of approaches, just like your green revolution, revolusi hijau. All right. So the approaches to increase your fish production through proper feeding, good feed quality. Okay. At the same time, some people use chemicals. All right. So there are good side of blue revolution. There is a bad side of blue revolution also. Okay. So these are some of the challenges of the blue revolution. And one of the aspects here is the possible social conflict. So I went through some of this problem too. When our company wanted to start our shrimp farming business in one kampung, this kampung was in Sedili Kecil in Johor. I'm not sure that any of you comes from that area, Sedili Kecil, Sedili Besar, that Felda area and Kota Tinggi, you know. So we have our company, in those days, my company, we grow shrimp, all right? Unfortunately, that shrimp farm is in between the kampung and also the main road. So the people from the kampung who wants to go to the main road must go through our farm. Okay, and then what happened was sometimes we do not allow them to go through the farm. Okay, because there are some activities in the farm which they cannot go through the farm. We provide them with another alternative, which is a longer jalan, a longer place, a longer road to reach the road, a longer diversion, they call it, diversion to reach the road, the main road. So when that happened, the orang kampung got angry, and then because of that, sometimes they would poison our shrimp. Yes, they did. And then they also stop our pump from running. Okay, and then they make a lot of problem or always get in a quarrel with our staff and so on. So that is not good social responsibility on our part as a company. So what happened was we tried to mitigate the problem and solve the problem. We meet the orang kampung, we meet the ketua kampung, and discuss with him and tell him what are we planning to do, how we can benefit orang kampung, you know, and all these things. After that meeting and so on, things became better, and orang kampung also give their support for our project, and we also give them some support, you know, and give them a special road system after that so that they can go back and forth from the kampung to the main road. Okay, so be careful about this. When you run a project, you want your surrounding people to be happy also with your presence. If not, they will sabotage you. They can throw poison into your pond and whatever. So that is very dangerous. All right. So in Malaysia, they are also what we call a zone industry aquaculture, or ZIA, where we grow fish and shrimp inside a zone with minimal impact from polluting industries, and we make sure that this sustainable aquaculture, what do you call this, program, whatever we have it, is minimal impact, okay, to the environment. So operators are encouraged to apply for good aquaculture practice, and you can get a certificate for compliance, and that would be useful also if you want to sell your product, and then you get premium price or very good price. Okay. Okay. So these are some of the examples of sustainable aquaculture lah. All right. And this has, now I want to ask all of you, has any of you heard this term before, ZIA or Zone Industry Aquaculture? Or no one have heard about it? Siapa pernah dengar ni? Anyone?
Sudah pernah.
Huh?
I never heard before.
Tak pernah.
Tak pernah.
Tak pernah.
Alright. Kalau tak pernah pun bagus. At least you learn something today. Okay. Now ZIA, Zone Industry Aquaculture, which is developed or identified by the Fishery Department. Fishery Department kat Malaysia ni, we name it as DOF. What is DOF? Department of Fisheries. So, when we mention the word DOF, it means Department of Fisheries. Alright, and they are the custodian, or essentially they're in charge of aquaculture development in the country. So what they do is that among the activity is to set up ZIA around the country, also together working with the state government ataupun kerajaan negeri. So each state in Malaysia, okay, for instance, your Pulau Pinang, okay, Perak, Negeri Sembilan, Melaka, all these things, they have areas which they grow fish and shrimp identified as ZIA or Zone Industry Aquaculture. All right. So within that area, normally things are organized in such a way that is minimal impact from the polluting industries from outside. Okay. All right. Okay, we're done with this. Okay. Now, any questions? Ada apa-apa soalan tak berkenaan topik tadi? Mana you punya topi, Zah? Topi merah. Okay. All right. So, any question? No? Understand? Boleh? Okay, so I speak slowly, so that you understand. Now, when you talk about aquaculture production, there is some things you need to understand also. What are the basics of aquaculture production? Okay, so now I will go to that topic, and then next week we will learn more about the aquaculture species, the different kind of aquaculture species. Remember, one of your work that you did for me in your lab was to identify the different kind of fish, right? Fish species. I asked you to give me how many? What, 5 is it? Was it 5?
5.
Yeah, 5 different fish species, and then in terms of the different body parts, anatomy, and so on. All right, and how do you describe the body form? All right, so next week, we will learn more about what we call as taxonomy or fish classification. How do you classify fish, you know? And what are the different kinds of fish that you see in this world? How do you classify them? Because they are bony fish, cartilaginous fish, jawless fish, all sorts. And you will find some interesting fish also to see. All right, so then we do that next week. But today I want to focus in the next maybe half an hour. We will look at the principles of aquaculture production. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Can you give me just 5 minutes? I want to drink some water. Boleh tak? Boleh?
Boleh je lah.
Boleh.
Yeah, I think my throat is drying up. So give me about 5 to 10 minutes quickly. Then we continue. Sekejap aja.
Ada je lah.
Ada.
Good. Now, get your pen and paper ready and your calculator. Okay. All right. I will go through some of the key principles and then lepas tu kita buat what we call as production estimation or calculation. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Maybe I do this first. Production principles dulu. We talk about this first. Okay. Production principles in aquaculture. All right. Now, first of all, when we want to grow fish or do aquaculture, see this term, culture the water first before we culture our fish. What does that mean? Huh? What do you mean? What do you think I mean when I say culture the water first before we culture our fish? Apa maksudnya? What do you understand by this? Yeah?
Culture green water or phytoplankton.
Yeah, that's one of it. Right. Before you grow your fish, especially when you want to grow outside in the open sun, okay, and in earthen ponds, kat kolam tanah, anywhere that is exposed to the sun, all right, or even in the enclosed area, recirculating aquaculture system, right? You want to culture the water first. What it means is that if the water you need to put phytoplankton, zooplankton, do it first lah. Culture your phytoplankton, culture your zooplankton first. Okay, and make sure the water is clean enough or suitable enough to grow your fish. You cannot just take the tap water, put inside container and then just put your fish. Tak boleh lah like that, you know. And the fish will die definitely. Okay, very stressful for the fish, right? So do this first. A well-cultured water contains the necessary nutrient and food organism for fish to grow. And natural food organisms, as you know, comprise of bacteria, phytoplankton, zooplankton, and benthos. What are benthos? What are benthos? Anyone? Bacteria, you know. Phytoplankton, you know. Zooplankton, you know. What about benthos? Or benthic organism?
Decomposers.
Huh?
Decomposers.
Decomposers. Not exactly. Somebody else? Come on. Salah pun tak apalah. Cakap aja. Come on. Anyone?
Organisms in benthic zone.
What is it now? Somebody mentioned something. What is it? Apa dia?
Organism in benthic zone.
Organism in benthic zone. All right. That's correct. What does benthic mean? Benthic means?
Surface. No, bottom.
Surface of the water.
Bottom. Right. That's correct. So when you say benthic organism, it refers to organism that stays or at the bottom of the pond. All right. Or organism that inhabit the bottom of the pond. Benthos, like your worms maybe. All right. Like your polychaete or worms. Okay. And sometimes your insect larvae at the bottom of the pond, those are benthos or benthic organism. Now shrimp also, you can refer to that as benthic organism. What does it mean? Because shrimp tend to occupy the base of the pond, at the bottom of the pond. So shrimp can be considered as a benthic organism, because the shrimp don't usually swim up in the water column or swim up to the surface, right? They're at the bottom of the pond. So you call that as benthos or benthic organism. All right? So that is one. All of this form part of the food chain. Huh? So you look at this. Why is phytoplankton important? Of course, at the base of the food chain, you have the phytoplankton, right? Look at this, all your phytoplankton down here. And then you have your zooplankton. And you have your, this is primary producer, you call it, right? Primary producer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer, quaternary consumer, and then this one is apex consumer. Apex means at the top. The top of the pyramid is, of course, your apex predator, which is here, your shark. Your shark eat the tuna. Tuna eat the smaller fish like mackerel, okay? And then they eat smaller animals like this, your zooplankton, and of course phytoplankton. So phytoplankton is at the base of the food chain, very important. All right, when you look at the food chain again, you see in aquaculture, let's say you grow this fish, it looks like a sunfish to me, not like a tilapia or sunfish. You feed the fish, right? And then you have manure, which is called organic matter. Sometimes this is more for fertilizer. Chemical fertilizer, manure is organic fertilizer. All right. So you have fish that you give feed to, and you also have some fertilizer, organic fertilizer that you use to put in the pond. Why? Because you want to make the water green. A lot of phytoplankton, zooplankton, right? That's why you add the fertilizer in the water, your chemical fertilizer, your organic fertilizer. So this chemical fertilizer and organic fertilizer from your manure, your chicken poop or whatever, dried ones, it will decompose in the water and release dissolved nutrients, your nitrogen, your phosphorus, and all other nutrients from this chemical fertilizer and manure. And this becomes food for your phytoplankton. Phytoplankton eaten by zooplankton, eaten by your benthos and other aquatic organisms. And some fish will eat the benthos, some will eat the zooplankton, some will eat the phytoplankton. So can you imagine in a fish pond, okay, this fish can eat whatever is in the water from your fertilizer. They eat the phytoplankton, they eat the zooplankton, they eat the benthos. At the same time, they can also eat the feed that you give them. So the opportunity to feed and eat is a lot, not only from the feed that you give them, but also from the ecosystem, from the phytoplankton, from the zooplankton, from the benthos or the benthic organism, right? So, in a favorable environment, all fish will grow optimally and profitably for us, the farmer. The lower our cultured organism feeds in the trophic level, the more efficient is the food conversion or FCR becomes, food conversion ratio. Okay. Although fish cultured at the lowest trophic level may be efficient in feed conversion ratio, it is not necessarily the most profitable and then the price and demand is also important to look at. What it means is that you can grow fish, okay? You can grow fish that eats only phytoplankton, zooplankton, and benthos. You don't give any feed. They grow, right? Without feed also they grow because they can just eat on phytoplankton, zooplankton, benthos. They can grow, but they can grow bigger when you feed them, all right? Even though you can grow this fish, let's say this fish using phytoplankton, zooplankton, and benthos, whatever is in the water, it may not be the fish that you want to grow because it may not have some demand, tidak ada permintaan, right? You may have to grow this particular fish here. You feed, you grow this fish, you pay a bit more money, but when people have more demand for this fish, you can actually make this an economic industry, alright? Tak semestinya ikan yang efisien dalam dari segi memakan makanan semula jadi ni kita boleh ternak dengan banyak, mungkin tidak ada permintaan sangat. Okay? Tapi kalau ikannya ni walaupun dia kena bagi makanan rumusan, okay, dia cost tinggi sikit tapi permintaan banyak, kita boleh jual dengan lebih mahal. So just remember, alright, this is the third point here. Although fish cultured at the lowest trophic level may be efficient in FCR, it is not necessarily the most profitable related to demand and price. Okay? So, every time we go up and consume feed from the bottom, let's say here, you see this picture from the bottom, phytoplankton, zooplankton, let's say anchovies here. Anchovies is what? Anchovies is ikan bilis, okay? Phytoplankton, zooplankton, ikan bilis here, anchovies, tuna, and the shark. All right. So when you have phytoplankton here that grow, and phytoplankton are consumed by tilapia. You know that tilapia can grow just when you put that tilapia in the water, and you make sure that you have the phytoplankton. Why? Because tilapia can consume phytoplankton. They can grow under in water with just fertilization of the water to encourage your phytoplankton growth. They can do that. Tilapia is an omnivorous species and they can grow very well in pond which is green in color. A lot of phytoplankton. But then for 10,000 kilogram of phytoplankton in the pond, if you can measure the weight of phytoplankton, you can only get, you will get 1,000 kilo of tilapia, meaning that the ratio is 10 to 1. Nisbah dia 10 banding 1. 10,000 kilogram phytoplankton menghasilkan 1,000 kilogram tilapia. Nisbah dia 10 berbanding 1. So 10:1 ratio for phytoplankton to be eaten by tilapia alone. However, when this phytoplankton is eaten by insects, kalau phytoplankton tadi dimakan oleh zooplankton, oleh insect, okay, oleh serangga, dimakan oleh eaten by bluegill. Bluegill ni tadi ikan yang macam bentuk tilapia juga, bluegill, and bluegill is eaten by bass. Let's say that your ultimate you want to grow bass. This pond you grow tilapia, this pond you grow bass or sea bass. Kolam ni you ternak ikan tilapia, kolam ni you ternak ikan siakap. Tapi ikan siakap ni pemangsa. Siakap, sea bass is a predatory fish. It is carnivorous. Alright? Okay. So, if you do it like this, you'll find that 10,000 kilogram of phytoplankton, only 2,000 kilogram of insect will be available. Okay. And you have a bluegill, but 500 kilogram of bluegill will be available. And finally, you have sea bass, which is at the top of the pyramid, only 125 kilo. So, dari sini you akan nampak, kalau kita nak fokus pada penghasilan ikan tilapia yang makan phytoplankton, bagi setiap 10,000 kilogram phytoplankton, kita boleh hasilkan 1,000 kilo tilapia. For every 10,000 kg of phytoplankton, we can have 1,000 kg of tilapia. But for every 10,000 kilogram of phytoplankton, we can only get 125 kilogram of sea bass. If in that particular pond, we do not give any feed, we just rely on fertilization of the phytoplankton. Kalau dalam kolam tu, kita hanya bagi makan pada phytoplankton dalam bentuk baja, we give them fertilizer, encourage phytoplankton, and if the phytoplankton is a lot, water green in color, 10,000 kilogram, right, of phytoplankton. With this, we can only get 1,000 kilogram of tilapia and much less only 125 kilogram of sea bass. Kenapa sea bass dapat sikit banding dengan tilapia? Sebab sea bass makan bluegill. Bluegill makan serangga, serangga makan phytoplankton. Because the level is higher, the pyramid is higher macam ni, lebih tinggi. For this one, for sea bass, that is why along the way you find loss of energy, okay? Loss of weightage, loss of biomass. And then you have a lot of, you have only 125 kilogram of sea bass. I hope you can see this. Kalau nak ternak ikan omnivorous, tilapia boleh dapat banyak dengan phytoplankton yang ada. Kalau ternak ikan daging, ikan maging ataupun carnivorous fish, we can only get this much. This is just an example so that you can see the difference. Alright. This is the term which I like you to know also. Write this down. This is called standing crop atau sumber dirian. Sumber dirian atau standing crop. Okay. An aquaculture species at any time you measure the weight, it is called the biomass or standing crop. Normally it is measured in kilogram per hectare. What is hectare? How do you spell hectare? Short form is HA. Okay, and then you spell it properly, HECTARE, hectare. Okay, that is your standing crop or your quantity of aquaculture species at any time in your production, kilogram per hectare. Okay, and then this is your carrying capacity, which tells you that how much your standing crop maximum is without negative effect to the fish and the environment. This is called kupayan tampung ataupun carrying capacity. Then there's a term which you should know about also called stocking density. Kadar pelepasan benih ikan, kadar pelepasan benih udang, that is called stocking density. Now, stocking density can be kilogram per cubic meter, can be pieces per square meter, pieces per cubic meter, depends on the species. All right, depends on the species. Okay. Now, stocking densities and harvest yields are finite and determined by the carrying capacity. Maksudnya kepadatan ikan tu kita nak masukkan dalam tangki, dalam kolam ataupun harvest, we call it harvest yield ataupun penghasilan, okay, they can determine by the carrying capacity. How much fish can your system support? Stocking density, this is called carrying capacity. Okay, carrying capacity is dependent on the level of intervention or improvement. Intervention or improvements are inputs that can be biological, chemical and physical in nature. Jadi kita ada satu istilah namanya carrying capacity, this one. Maximum standing crop of a particular system. Maksudnya dalam kolam tu kalau carrying capacity dia 10 tan atau 10,000 kilogram, maka kalau kita ternak ikan sampai 10,000 kilogram, kita dah sampai tahap carrying capacity. Kalau kita cuba nak fokus lebih daripada 10,000 kilogram, umpamanya nak lebih daripada carrying capacity, biasanya ikan akan mula start mati, mula stres dan sebagainya. Alright, so there is a particular carrying capacity number for each fish depending on the species lah. Alright. Alright. How do you increase your carrying capacity? Alright, so carrying capacity is not fixed. It is the maximum standing crop that an aquaculture system can support during the fish culture period. Okay, so this is the maximum standing crop carrying capacity. Okay. Right, so how do you increase your carrying capacity? Remember, carrying capacity is dynamic, it is not fixed. It is increased when you improve the system. Kalau kita ada carrying capacity ataupun kupaian tampung satu-satu air itu, kita rasa dia kurang, apa kita nak tingkatkan? Bagaimana kita tingkatkan? How do you increase the carrying capacity of a particular production system? Alright. So there are a few approaches we can do. One is called fertilization. You bayangkan dalam kolam, you baja kolam tu, naik phytoplankton, naik zooplankton, then becomes food for the fish. Alright. That is called intervention. Okay. You fertilize the water. After fertilization, a few days later, alright, you find that you want to grow your fish even better, even faster, even more density. Then you start to feed your fish. Pembajaan tidak boleh menghasilkan ikan yang banyak sangat. Look at this. Example, kalau you ada phytoplankton, setiap 10,000 kilogram phytoplankton, you hasilkan 1,000 kilo tilapia aja, 1/10. Alright. So, what does it tell us? It tells us that when you fertilize the water, you get the phytoplankton. That is level 1, where you just fertilize it and the fish grow up well. You can collect it, or you can fish it, whatever. You boleh pancing dia dan seterusnya kan. Okay, tapi just from fertilization alone. If your fertilization cannot increase your fish a lot, the next step is to feeding them. You must feed them. If not feeding, then they cannot grow. Alright. The third is aeration, important for dissolved oxygen. Remember, I mentioned earlier, okay, if you aeration, when you increase your aeration system, you increase your dissolved oxygen content, the fish will become happier. Okay, they will grow better. Water exchange can be done also to increase your carrying capacity. All right, so these 4 things, fertilization, feeding, aeration, water exchange, are approaches to increase productivity, all right, and then in terms of getting better production per unit area. This is a graph to show you the standing crop and the time, okay, where you reach carrying capacity. Look at this. Okay, slow down at first and then go up. Near the carrying capacity, it drops. Okay, look at this picture. This is the maximum carrying capacity as it reaches the maximum standing crop here. Okay, after a certain time. Look at this, standing crop, time, almost same graph here, same graph. This is your carrying capacity here, this is carrying capacity. This is your standing crop at any time. And then there is a term called critical standing crop. The critical standing crop is the most profitable time to harvest your fish. Why? Because after this, they will start to decline. Turun. They start to decline. Okay. So this is the best time to harvest, which is called a critical standing crop. Dia naik ni, at the point of, they call it here point of inflection. Naik, they change over, go down, and this go down here is already meaning that you reach the maximum standing crop or carrying capacity already. This picture or this slide tells you if you have a standing crop like this, production, okay, you'll find that your profit in the beginning of your project, you lose profit, lose money here. But as it goes along, you find that the company can make some money here and so on. Standing crop and profitability. Here is a comparison between cost and revenue. When we start the fish culture, maybe for the first 2 months, you lose money. Why? Because the fish is still small. If something happened to your production, everything mati, everything die, then you will lose money at this level. Once you reach a certain size, a certain number of days, like this one, they will start to continue up. Continue here, up. Revenue, this is your profit, becomes smaller. And after that, you will lose money again. What does this tell us? It tells us that we want to grow fish and make money. We better make sure that it doesn't get, it is between this space here, all right? The fish is just nice in terms of quantity, okay? And then the good survival, then you can make a lot of profit here. Because after this period, there's not much actually you can gain from. What about the intervention I mentioned earlier? What are intervention to increase your productivity? What can you do to increase your productivity? These are some of the approaches. Fertilize, you can supplement, feed, you can do a complete feed, you can do water, aeration system, and then change water. All this initiative, from fertilized pond, supplemental feed, complete feed, aeration, change water, all these are examples of improving the aquaculture production. If you just give unfertilized, grow fish in unfertilized pond like this, they will get very little production. If you add fertilizer, you get more. If you put pelleted feed, you get much more. And then you go complete feed, all right? Aeration, change water bit, and flow through. All this will be helpful in increasing your carrying capacity. However, when you increase your carrying capacity with new innovation and new development, there are things to remember. The greater the intervention, the more complex is the technology. Okay, the greater the what do you call this? The intervention here, the higher is the cost of production. The greater the intervention, the greater is the risk of losing your money, risk of losing your crop. All right. So all this to show you that yes, we can increase the carrying capacity like this. We can increase the carrying capacity by fertilization, supplemental feed, complete feed, aeration, change water, and so on. But as we go through that, we find that the technology becomes more complex, cost of production increase, and the risk also increase for us to run the business. All right. But this is an example of stocking density. Sometimes you find when you stock very small fish, a lot of very small fish, they may not grow fast. They can be bantut, when you put a lot of fish, fingerling in the tank, and then they do not grow well, lack of food, okay? And then what do you call this? Scarcity in terms of what do you call this? All related to overstocking. So look at this, overstocking, banyak ikan kan, a lot of fish. This is medium stocking, not so much. This is understocking, which is only very few fish. Okay, so very few fish will tend the fish to get bigger, but of course there is a limit in terms of how big they grow. This is a good size, all right, large enough size, good size, and in fact getting fast growth, and it's reasonable stocking density. This one too much stocking density, too much, banyak sangat ternak ikan dalam ni, pembesaran pun terganggu, terlambat. Okay. When you stock your pond a lot, okay, like this, look at the standing crop. When you start, that time you stock a lot, you reach the carrying capacity faster. When you stock less, reach carrying capacity denser, you stock very little of your fish, you can get low density, but over time, you make some money here. Okay, standing crop. Oops, I missed. So this is important to understand. All right, high density, you reach your standing crop faster at this point. Medium density, you reach your carrying capacity higher. Low stocking density, you reach your carrying capacity much longer than the rest. All right. Now, after I mentioned to you about this intervention ni semua, okay, some of this to show you about the profitability. This one, beginning you lose money, then you make money, and if you keep your stock longer, you still lose money. This is a case where you cannot sell your product. Okay, you're supposed to make profit here, you cannot sell. The product goes to another place, all right, and then the what do you call this? The production profit. Okay, the profit becomes lower and lower as you extend the time of your growing. Okay, you lose money in the beginning, you make money later on, but if you keeping your fish more and more time, lebih lama simpan ikan, lebih merugikan. Remember to harvest the fish during this period. Cepat sangat pun ikan harvest tak dapat duit, lama sangat pun harvest tak dapat duit, rugi lagi. Tapi yang ini penting kena faham. Okay. Alright. So that I want to stop there. Okay. Any questions, guys? Ada persoalan? Daripada you all?
Sir,
Yes.
regarding the last slide, is it better for us to culture in high density rather than low density?
Good question.
Okay.
When you grow high density like this, show you the picture. Again, it depends on the way you culture your product, right? Okay, let me show you again that slide, right? Okay. Okay, now this slide, okay, this picture here. Okay. When you grow fish at a higher stocking density, very dense, you'll find that the fish will not grow so fast, takes a longer time to grow. It may reach this size, but it may take a long time for you to realize this size, and you have a lot of water quality problem when you want to force the fish to grow fast. So that is why when you overstock or you grow in very high density, you'll find that you must, no, this is important, you must improve your intervention. This one, sorry, your intervention. This one. Okay, we want to put a lot of fish, right? We increase the standing crop. This is, let's say you put your standing crop, which is your higher density. The higher the density, you must look at what do you need to do. A lot of water exchange. Change water frequently. If you want to increase your density like this, you must look at intervention, do this, aeration, mesti ada. If you want to increase your stocking density, you just do not fertilize and just supplemental feed, but no aeration, tak boleh. It cannot support, the system cannot support a very high density. If you want to stock at the lower density, you can, all right, your fish may grow faster because there's not much waste to clean, not much ammonia and so on, all right? But then you might not get as many fish to sell, all right? So that is why you have to strike a balance. Kita mesti balance kan. Kita nak ikan yang saiz macam mana, banyak tapi kecil-kecil atau sikit tapi besar. Of course, this one, you have so little fish that it will not be economic or feasible for you. All right? For some fish, they have an optimum stocking density. For instance, let's say this is tilapia, right? When you grow tilapia at the stocking density of 100 tilapia per square meter, for instance, 100 tilapia per square meter, you need complete feed, you need aeration, and you need partial exchange. 400 pieces per square meter. You need this, this, and this. If you bring up your stocking density for tilapia, meaning increase the standing crop, okay, maybe up to 200 per square meter, then you need feed, you need aeration, you need not only partial water exchange, you need flow through. The water needs to flow through very fast. Okay, and then you can get better survival, better growth, and you know, a good income from that. So whether you stock at a high density or low density, you must tailor it or check out what is your level of intervention. What is the system you are trying to use? The more you put in the fish, the higher density, the more you put in the feed. The more you put in the feed, the more they feed, the more is your water quality problem going to happen. So you need what? Aeration. Make sure enough oxygen. And when the water gets too bad, you need to do water exchange. If you aerate also, you do water exchange also, cannot jalan, that means the water gets very dirty all the time. You cannot just partial water exchange. Then you might have to use a system where the water is flow through all the time. Okay, so this is very costly already, sudah mahal kan, flow through water all the time. Do they do this? Yes, some places do this. Example, in Besut where they grow their ikan kerapu or grouper in tanks, the water is flowing through all the time. But it is okay because they sell ikan kerapu, they sell the kerapu fry at 2 or 3 ringgit a piece. 2-3 ringgit satu ekor kerapu. For tilapia, it's only 30 cents. Can you imagine? Jual tilapia 30 sen seekor, ikan kerapu 3 ringgit satu ekor. But then ikan kerapu, they need flow through water exchange to get to that level of higher stocking density or higher biomass. Okay. All right. So that is an answer to your question. Boleh ke? Boleh faham ke?
Boleh cik lah.
Boleh ya? Alright, I hope you understand this because this is the principles. You know, sometimes you say, kenapa tak boleh stock lebih lagi, banyak lagi? Why do we stock much more? Why do we stock only this much, this much? There's a reason why you cannot stock a lot, you see. You need to tailor it to your water quality management, how you feed also. So, if you guys are taking my water quality class, I'm sure you guys are, then we can talk about a system where we can manage the water better. How do you run a high stocking density and at the same time manage the water so that you can still cover your costs and make some money out of it? All right. Okay, so this is your cage culture thing. All right. Today I'm not going to talk about any lab for you. Just finish this particular topic so that all of you can understand a bit more. All right, on aquaculture production. Okay. Now, whenever you do fish farming, all of you, when you go out, you finish work, you completed your study in UPM, right? Bila you all dah habis belajar ke UPM, you keluar as a graduate from UPM and you go and see the farmer. Okay? I'm sure the farmer will look at you and say, hey, you are a graduate from UPM. Oh, yalah, I am. Okay? Please tell me in my pond here, how much can I target my production? How you do it? Betul tak? How do you target? Well, farmer will always ask, what? When they say when you say you're from UPM, they're thinking, oh, UPM graduate, mesti pandai punya, mesti tahulah ni. And then they can ask you, in pakcik pond dalam kolam pakcik ni berapa banyak you rasa boleh dapat ikan? Berapa kilogram satu kali satu musim? How you calculate? How you give idea to that pakcik? Not easy, isn't it? All right. So that's why it's important to know a bit of basis on this, right? For instance, I mentioned to you about all this already, right? Look at this. This is a tilapia production target. Okay, write this down. Now, when you grow tilapia in a pond, okay, I don't write this in my notes, but I just want you to write it in your notes, dalam you punya nota. When you grow tilapia in a pond will not cage, pond. They say you grow tilapia in earthen pond. You want to stock around about 10 pieces of tilapia per cubic meter of water. 10 pieces of tilapia per cubic meter of water without aeration. But you still give makan, you still give food to your ikan tilapia. Okay, 10 pieces per cubic meter. Now I'll tell you more about that later. If you want to increase your tilapia to 30 pieces per cubic meter instead of just 10, initially 10 kan? Okay, 10 you bagi makan, and then you want to increase to 30 pieces per cubic meter. You bagi makan still. What else do you need to do there? What kind of intervention you need to do? Apa lagi nak tambah baik dekat kolam tu? If you want to increase from 10 to 30 pieces per cubic meter, what do you think? What have I mentioned just now? What are the intervention? Apa dia penambahbaikan lagi? If you
Aeration.
put aeration, correct. If you put 10 pieces per cubic meter, you don't need aeration. Just bagi makan. Okay? And then the tilapia will makan the feed and will eat also some of the phytoplankton in the water because the water will become quite green. So with 10 pieces per cubic meter, the tilapia will be happy with just feed. You increase your stocking density to 30 pieces per cubic meter. You feed your tilapia. Very soon you'll find that your tilapia will have lack of oxygen. They feed a lot, The pond water has a lot of phytoplankton, a lot of organic matter accumulation, a lot of waste from the tilapia, and lack of oxygen. So what do you need? You mentioned just now? You need what?
Aeration.
Aeration, yes. When you put 30 pieces per cubic meter of tilapia, you need aeration. All right? So the higher the stocking density, the more you need to make sure there's enough oxygen for the fish. That is in pond. In cage culture, you can go even higher stocking density. Now remember, in one of the intervention I mentioned to you is the water exchange, flow through water. In cage culture, if your cage netting is big enough, the water will flow through your cage, right? Now look at farmers who grow fish in Temerloh, in all the cage, the what do you call it? The cage farmer fish, the fish farmer who grow the fish in cages. Now the cage they put in the river, right? And the water flow through the river, flow through the cage. Now there is flow through lah. So when you can have water flowing through the cage like that, you feed the fish, then you can increase the stocking density to much more, up to 80 pieces per cubic meter. Remember the pond just now? The pond without aeration, 10 per cubic meter. With aeration, you increase to 30 pieces per cubic meter. All right. And if the pond you have flow through water, let's say water flowing to the pond all the time, your pond is near a hill or mountain, water flow through all the time, you can increase to 80 pieces per cubic meter, no problem. But in most cases, you cannot do that because a pond in Malaysia, sometimes you have difficult water supply. But in cages, because the water flow through the river, flow through your cages, you can increase your stocking density to 80 pieces per cubic meter. And they grow. All right? So, the water flowing through your cage will provide with aeration also. If aeration is not enough, you add like aeration from tubing, from your what do you call this? Air pump and so on. Okay? Right. So, for instance, let's say your cage is size 3 meter by 3 meter by 1 meter. That is 9 cubic meter, right? And you stock at 80 pieces per cubic meter. You calculate your number of fingerlings to stock is 720 pieces. Number of fingerlings to stock, 720 pieces. Why is that? 80 times 9. 80 times 9, you get 720 pieces. Survival, let's say 80 pieces, 80%. Minimum survival number is 720 times 0.8, you get 576 pieces. Average size, 330 gram per fish, right? And production is what? Production is 190 kilogram. How do you get that? 576 times 0.330. 576 times 0.330. You should get the answer as 190. Okay, let's do that. Okay. Buat sama-sama. 576 times 0.330, you get 190. Okay, kilogram. What is your feed consumption? 342 kilogram. What is your FCR? How do you calculate FCR? Feed conversion ratio? Anyone? How do you calculate feed conversion ratio? Pernah buat ni tak? Have you done this before? Feed conversion ratio? Or have not? Tak pernah dengar tak istilah ni? Have you heard of this term before or not?
Pernah cik lah.
Pernah? You seorang aja. Yang lain? How about the rest?
Tak pernah.
Tak pernah?
Tak.
Okay, tak. Kalau tak pernah, bagus. Hari ini belajar. FCR means feed conversion rate or feed conversion ratio. It means that your total feed consumption, look at that, 342, divided by your production, 190. So 342 divided by 190. What do you get? 1.8. 1.8. So 1.8 is the feed conversion rate or feed conversion ratio. What does it tell you? When you see an FCR of 1.8, what does it tell you? Kalau you tengok FCR ikan ni 1.8, apa yang dalam fikiran you? Apa maksudnya? What do you understand by this? It means that for every 1.8 kilo of feed you give to the fish, you get back 1 kilo of fish. Maksudnya juga, bagi setiap 1 kilo ikan yang kita tangkap yang terhasil, bagi 1 kilo ikan yang terhasil, kita memerlukan 1.8 kilo makanan. For every 1 kilo of fish that you harvest, you must have given it 1.8 kilograms of feed. Okay, faham tak tu?
Faham.
Faham ya?
Faham.
Itu maksudnya FCR. Now, mana lebih baik? Which is better? FCR of 2.0 or FCR of 1.5? Which one is better for a fish farmer?
1.5.
1.5.
Of course, 1.5. Meaning, it is more efficient. Jadi kalau 1.5, meaning 1.5 kilo of feed give you 1 kilo of fish, which is more efficient. And more efficient means you save money. Kita jimat duit dan lebih untung. Alright? So that is the meaning of feed conversion ratio. Okay, let's do this together. Come, calculate this together with me. Yang ini. Tilapia production. 5 times 5 times 2 is the cage size of tilapia. Alright. And what is the cage volume? Berapa volume cage?
50 meter cubic.
50 meter cube.
Huh? 5
50
times
meter.
5 times 2, 50. Right?
50.
50. So write down the answer. Okay, you write this down in your notebook, all right? So 5 times 5 times 2 equals 50 cubic meter. Now, when you say M3, actually the way to say it is 50 cubic meters, all right? Even though it says that M3, not 50 meter cube. 50 cubic meter is the proper way of saying it, huh? 50 cubic meters. And your stocking density is 70 pieces per okay. Here is wrong. I should put here 70 pieces per cubic meter, not per square meter. All right, just to compare that properly. So stocking density is 70 pieces per cubic meter. This is my mistake. So it should be M3 also. M3. So what is the number of fingerlings to stock? Fingerlings mean what size? So about 2 inch to 3 inch size. Huh? Okay, so there is 50 times 70, right?
Yes.
Yes.
3,000, how much?
3,500.
500.
Good. 3,500 pieces. Survival is 80%. So how much is left? Minimum survival number berapa?
2,800.
2,800.
2,800. Average harvest size, 2 pieces per kilogram. What is, how many grams is that?
1,400 kilograms.
How do you get that?
Divide by 2.
Okay, so the pieces there, the minimum survival number is how many just now?
Survive 2,800.
2,800. 2,800 times 0.5, you get 1,400, right? Betul?
Chap. Betul.
1,400 kilogram. Okay. 1,000, what do you call this production is 1,400 kilogram. Okay. So what is your production? 1,400 kilogram. Your feed conversion, feed consumption is 2380. So what is your FCR?
1.7.
1.7. 2380 divided by 1400, 1.7. Culture period depends, maybe short, maybe long, shorter, maybe longer, doesn't matter. All right. So this is for your tilapia. Okay. Let's look at shrimp. Now, because shrimp is a benthic organism, we use the term square meter. All right. Now, tilapia, we use cubic meter, stocking density per cubic meter. For shrimp, we tend to use per square meter. Let's say that the pond size for shrimp is 2,000 square meter. We stock at 80 pieces per square meter. We times this to, we get 160,000 pieces. Survival 90%, we get 144,000 pieces. Average harvest size 15 grams. 144,000 times 0.015 gram, you get 2,160 kilogram. Feed consumption this much, FCR 1.5. Just like your tilapia, okay? But you can get much more when you have a bigger pond size. Harvest size is smaller. Look at the harvest size for shrimp, only 15 gram for this period of 120 days. All right, tilapia, 120 days, you can already get about 300 gram. Okay. All right, so look at that. Look at this. Okay, let's do the exercise for white shrimp. Pond size, 5,000 square meter. Stocking density, 80 pieces. All right. Number of post larvae to stock, how many?
400,000.
400,000.
400,000. Minimum over 70, so 280,000 pieces left. Average harvest size 50 pieces per kilogram. 50 pieces per kilogram is how many gram? Tell me the production. So what is your production?
5,600.
Huh?
5,600.
5,600. Yes. Okay, the rest of you, how do we get 5,600? How do you get 5,600?
280,000
280,000 times, then?
divided by 50.
Oh, okay. Can also, well, 280,000. You want to change your average harvest size to 20 gram. 50 pieces per kilogram is 20 gram shrimp, 20 gram. All right. So just now you get 400,000 is your stocking density, number of stocking number. You times 0.7, you get 280,000. Then you times 20. Why 20? Because it's 20 gram. Average harvest size, 50 pieces per kilogram is equal to 20 gram. So you times 20, you get 5,600,000 gram, right? You divide it by 1,000, you get 5,600 kilogram. So the production is 5,600 kilogram. 5,600. Feed consumption is 9 metric tons. What is 9 metric tons?
9,000 kilograms.
9,000 kilogram. Okay, for some of you who doesn't know all this, you better take note, After kilogram is ton, you know. So 1,000 kilogram equals 1 ton. 1 metric ton. 1,000 kilogram bersamaan dengan 1 tan metrik. Alright. So 9 tan metrik atau 9 metric tons equals to 9,000 kilogram. MT is metric tons. Right. So 9 metric tons equals 9,000 kilogram. So 9,000 divided by 5,600, you get 1.6 FCR, 1.6. Okay, follow ke ni? Boleh ke? You guys follow?
Encik
boleh
lah.
je.
Tadi
Yes, Encik lah.
Boleh.
Boleh eh?
saya confuse sikit kat production tadi Encik lah.
You got confused at production. Alright. Here, you make sure when you say 50 pieces per kilogram, it means that your what do you call this? You say 1 kilogram is 1,000 gram, right? 1,000 gram. So if 50 pieces per kilogram means for every 1,000 gram, you got 50 pieces of shrimp. Okay, 1,000 gram ada 50 ekor udang. So 1 ekor udang adalah 20 gram. Itu je. So that is your average harvest size is 20 gram. So 20 gram you times by just now times 2800 times 20, and then you get the answer just now 5600 kan, and bagi dengan 9,000 kilogram, 9,000 kilogram. Okay, then you get the answer as 1.6 FCR. Okay, these are some sample calculations, some very basic calculation that you need to understand, so that when you go out there and visit farmers or you run your own project in aquaculture, you know some of the very basic calculation. Okay, farmer will always ask you, hey, how much fish can I put in that tank? How much fish can I put in that pond? Mesti punya. When you go out, you see farmer always ask you, because I know I always got asked by farmer, cik lah, dalam kolam saya tu you rasa berapa banyak ikan yang boleh masuk? Kan? Betul tak? So, you have to think lah. You have to think. Okay, berapa banyak ikan nak masuk dalam tangki macam tu? Kan? Atau dalam kolam macam tu. Alright? So then, when you know how much to put in per square meter, per cubic meter, then you calculate. So when farmer ask me, I ask the farmer back, boleh tak you tolong kira you punya kolam ni berapa besar? Betul tak? Kalau you sudah kira you punya kolam berapa besar, I tahu kolam you berapa dalam, I know your pond is your pond how much, how many meter by how many meter, how many meter deep. So I calculate the length, the breadth of the pond, and the depth. Then I get the cubic meter. And then once I get the cubic meter or the pond volume, then I can recommend to the farmer, oh okay, Pak Cik punya kolam ni lebih kurang 5,000 cubic meter. Kalau masuk ikan tilapia, you tak nak aeration, tak ada duit nak beli aeration, tak ada budget aeration, tanpa aeration, okay, 5,000 cubic meter kali 10, I think you boleh letak 50,000 tilapia lah. Macam tu. As simple as that. Okay. So, this is very basic lah for all of you to start with. There's a lot more to understand about aquaculture, but some of the very basic things, that's why this class is called Principles of Aquaculture. The principles, what are the basic for you to understand as students of aquaculture. Boleh? Yagis, you okay, Yagis?
Okay, sir.
Can
So far, okay.
Good. Jagi, Meng Fong, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Good. Ellie, how are you, Ellie? Boleh? Good. Rowena? Uma, you alright, Uma?
So far, so good, sir.
Good, good.
Okay, sir.
Anything not understand, please let me know. You can even text me in the WhatsApp
Uh,
group. Yeah.
Sir,
Yes. Asyik.
saya nak tengok jap exercise yang tilapia tu kejap.
Yang tilapia tu.
Kejap.
Lagi sekali.
Saya nak tengok kejap.
Nak tengok? Okey, sekejap ya. No problem. The tilapia one, the exercise. Hold on. 3201 production target. Okay.
Cik lah,
Hmm.
nak how can we determine the chance of survival of fish that we capture? Like before, we can expect like tilapia 80% of fish that we can ensure that survive.
Oh, very good question. Very good question.
And what the countermeasure for to we measure the fish?
How do you measure the fish? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, first is how do you estimate the survival, correct? When you grow fish in the pond, you cannot see the fish, right? Okay? You go swim in the pond, you cannot see the shrimp also. So how do you estimate the survival? One way to estimate the survival is to have good observation. Good observation, meaning that once you put in your fish, you observe. Observe your fish in the pond. Every day look around the pond, ada mati tak, any dead, and so on and so forth. Take the dead ones outside and have an estimate of how many died. Okay, that is one way, estimation. How many fish died if you put in the pond. Okay. Sometimes you do not know whether the fish died or not because they may be eaten by their friend, or they go to the fish, the bottom of the pond, and they will die there at the bottom of the pond. You do not see also. You can only see those that come out and go to the surface and got blown by wind to the side. You can collect. Jadi ada ikan yang mati, yang terapung, ditolak angin sampai ke tebing, you boleh tangkap, you boleh tengok, you boleh kira. Yang mati kena makan kawan dia, yang mati masuk dalam kolam kat dasar itu boleh nampak. So how do you calculate? How do you measure? How do you estimate the number or survival of your fish? Okay, this is very tricky, isn't it? Kalau di tempat kolam kecil senang, kalau kolam besar lagi susah. Alright, the smaller pond, smaller tank is easy to estimate, but bigger pond very difficult to estimate. So in this case, what you can estimate is by the feeding rate. By the feeding rate, how much feed you give to your fish, and from the feeding rate you can estimate, from the body size of the fish you can estimate what is the survival of your fish. Dari makanan dia yang you bagi, setiap kali dia makan, makanan tu habis untuk satu hari, dan dari saiz ikan tu, you sudah boleh buat anggaran berapa banyak ikan yang masih tertinggal dalam kolam tersebut. From the feeding rate, from the feeding rate that you give to your fish, right? How much they eat per day, from the weight of the fish, you can have some idea or estimate what kind of survival you still have in that particular pond. Okay, now, when it comes to that point, how to estimate the feeding rate, okay, and the size, that comes to another situation, what we call as sampling. You need to do some sampling to get the body weight or average body weight, and then you need to know what is the percent body weight of feeding, how much you need to feed, and then you can calculate back your survival rate. Now for this, I will have to do a special class or another class for you, because if I talk like this, you can get confused. Boleh ke? Boleh guys?
Boleh.
Okay. So remember, when you cannot estimate the survival in a pond, because you cannot see whether the fish died or not, you calculate or you estimate in the sense by the feeding rate of the fish and by the average weight of the fish. Okay, I will teach you how to do that later on. Okay? If I don't, you please remind me. Boleh tak? Hello? Boleh?
Boleh. InsyaAllah.
Boleh.
Alright. Lagi? Ada soalan apa lagi?
So Cik La, nak tanya, yang average harvest size tu memang dia diberi
Biasanya akan diberi atau you akan sampling lah.
Okay.
You sample or you just were given, kalau ada soalan macam ni is given to you, or if you run your own project from sampling, you have to sample gunakan jala, jaring dan sebagainya. Okay?
Okay. Ini saja lah.
Anybody else have any questions? I'm not going to give you an exercise today. You go through, understand this. Minggu depan I bagi you exercise. Apa lagi? Faham?
Cik lah.
Yes, Hafizul.
What the best FCR for shrimp and also for fish?
Good question. When you grow shrimp and fish, what is the best FCR? First, I tell you the average FCR. Okay, average FCR that you can be happy that you are going to make some money out of the business of growing fish is about 1.5. When you have your FCR around 1.5, you are happy with it. I'm sure you'll be very happy because your fish and shrimp is efficiently produced, 1.5. Now, what is not efficient? Not efficient means more than 2. If your shrimp that you grow, your FCR is 2.0, your fish also is 2.0, it means that they're already at the top of the feed conversion ratio. Okay, you don't want to be much higher than 2.0. Okay, because the higher your FCR, the higher is your feed cost. Lebih tinggi FCR, lebih tinggi kos makanan. Alright, so make it a point to make sure that FCR you tak lebih dari 2 for both fish and shrimp. If you can get 1.5 is very good. But how low can it go? Well, I've seen people growing fish 1.1 FCR, 1.1. Some people claim they can even get 0.9. Wait a minute, how can I get 0.9? Which means that 0.9 kilo of feed gives me 1 kilo of shrimp. Boleh ke? Does it make sense?
Boleh.
How?
Maybe dia letak duckweed dalam pond dia ataupun dia culture algae.
Yeah, it is possible. Definitely, Muaz. It is possible. You can get a higher FCR if in the pond a lot of microalgae, a lot of supplemental feed they grow in the pond, and your feed that you give, your pellet is less. It is possible. Definitely, it is possible. All right. Okay. So and also there are also other ways of getting lower FCR. And by having additional feed in the pond. When you have additional feed in the pond, not only from the feed that you give, your pellets or your makanan rumusan, you definitely can get lower FCR. Okay, but the target is for shrimp. A lot of people are targeting around 1.2 to 1.3 FCR for shrimp. If they get 1.2, 1.3, they are very happy, very, very happy. They can laugh all the way to the bank. Okay, for fish, if you can get 1.5, you're very happy also. But some can go even down to 1.1, 1.2 juga. Okay. So far, I've seen at the least is about 0.9. That's about the least I've seen. Okay, I've experienced also. Okay. I grow my tilapia in my backyard. I get 1.2 FCR. My tilapia. I grow it in my backyard. I get 1.2. It's fine, and I'm happy with it. All right. I grow tilapia in behind my house, Okay. So I can tell you my experience lah. Okay. So that is basically the situation, and of course, if you want to grow to that level, tilapia, grow feeding properly, and so on and so forth, then when we come to a topic on feed management, okay, on feeding and feed management, then I can tell you a bit more on how we should manage our feeding so that you can get better FCR. Boleh tak? Guys,
Boleh Cik Lah.
Boleh Cik lah.
Boleh.
Boleh.
I hope you learn something today.
Cik lah, sorry ya. Sorry Cik, kalau untuk crab, dia punya FCR lebih baik dalam range berapa?
Crab. Now, crab tend to have a higher FCR tau. Crab, kalau you ada FC, sebab crab ni dia carnivorous. They tend to be carnivorous and they eat a lot. Sometimes crab you need to have mixture of pellets and also on fresh feed. Okay. As far as I know, in our observation, your crab too, if you can get your FCR around 2 to 2.5, you should be happy with it already. Crab, because they tend to eat also a mixture of, as I said, processed feed and also not live, but fresh food. Sometimes they give the crab chopped fish, or chopped shrimp, right? And then the cost is a bit higher. And then you have to compare the FCR in that sense, because most of the comparison of FCR is more on processed feed. But when you use fresh feed and also what do you call this? Fresh fish, you chop it, fresh fish and so on, and you give to your crab, then you have to do another calculation. Okay, when it comes to that, I will let you know how we convert fresh fish into what do you call this? Fresh fish weight into processed feed to calculate a proper FCR. Boleh?
Boleh Cik lah. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So crab is a bit tricky because it's mostly carnivorous in nature. Okay. Are you guys okay? Anything else?
So far okay Cik lah.
Boleh ya? Alright. So okay. So in this particular class, I think Ellie, you're taking the attendance kan, Ellie?
Yeah, I taken the attendance.
Thank you, Ellie. Thank you for your effort. Alright. So that's it, guys. That's it for today. And next week in class, we continue with this topic, and then plus also on the fish taxonomy. And then what do you call this? In the lab, I will maybe give you an exercise on fish production, like what we go through today in the calculation, so that you can go home next week, and then with your friends, with your group, do some calculation to get a better idea on how we measure our productivity in fish pond, how we calculate and how we can help the farmer out there to have a better understanding of FCR, all these things. Okay? Boleh?
Boleh.
Good. All right. So that's it for today, guys. Okay. Thank you.
Terima kasih
Thank
Cik
you, Cik
Lah.
Lah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Cik Lah.
Welcome. Take care.
Thank you Cik lah.
Thank you, Cik Lah.
Welcome. Thank you, guys.